Hi everyone, and welcome back to Effective Leadership Strategies Story Time. So we're back with another story and how it connects to effective leadership strategies, how you can turn the stories in your life into practical, actionable strategies in your role as a leader. So today I want to tell you a story about my experience with Outward Bound. So for those that don't know, Outward Bound is a leading provider of experiential and outdoor education programs for youth and adults. And I'm from Los Angeles originally, and so city girl from Los Angeles, I was able to be accepted into an Outward Bound education program. I'm not 100% sure about what it was, but excited because it was something new and it was change for me. This is when I was about 15, 16 years old. And so I was chosen to go to a location in North Carolina for Outward Bound. We were going to Table Rock Mountain. When I arrived, I had my jeans and my cute tennis shoes. And I had packed because they send you a packing list. So I was really trying to be prepared for this experience. And the first thing they do is they have you put all of the things, all of the comforts from home in this big it was a fenced in area. And we only took those things that were gonna help us on our journey. It was a 18-day journey that we took on. And so we took off. I had a group, there were probably 12, 13 of us from all walks of life, all experiences, all teenagers, and we had a couple adult leaders. And we took off. And I will say the first day, we had to make oatmeal, and our leaders kept saying, this is important because this is the food that's going to nourish your body so that you have the energy and the strength to take on some of the challenges we're going to be taking on over our journey. I am not an oatmeal eater. And so I very arrogantly said, I don't do oatmeal, I don't eat oatmeal, so no thank you. By midday, I was regretting that decision. And there was no, well, let's go back and find you something to eat. It was, this is what we have. This is what's being prepared by the group. You either eat it or you don't eat it, and you pay the consequences if you don't eat it. So my refusal to understand that, I needed those very basic things. It wasn't about what tastes the best. It was what was going to provide me with the appropriate preparation to prepare for this very challenging journey that I was about to embark on. And so I missed out on that first meal. I missed out. I was hungry, I was weak, and I wasn't ready for the first challenge. But already lessons starting to learn, right? Sometimes it doesn't look the prettiest, it doesn't taste the best, but those basic foundational things that you're going to need to prepare for a tougher challenge, sometimes you got to get that down. And so that was my first lesson. And so I learned, and every other day after, I did eat that oatmeal, or I ate the food that I didn't necessarily like before, because I understood it was giving me the building blocks that I needed to be strong enough to get through this journey. So on this journey, one of the things that we had to do, each child had to be a leader, and they had given us all the skills we learned, with the compass and, how to track our way. And so it was my turn to take the lead. And we had to do something called bushwhacking, which I had not heard of before. And bushwhacking is basically there's no trail, right? You're going in the right direction. My job was to get us to the water, which was this lake. And so my job was to get us to the water. And like I said, we had learned compass skills. We had learned how to bushwhack. We had learned how to navigate. And so you were supposed to do it. The leaders were in the back. You were leading your group of teens to the water. And so I was bushwhacking, and I was going through these bushes, and I was leading the way. I was out front as the leader, and my team was behind me. And I missed a step because I was so caught up, and I just got to get to the water. I wasn't paying attention to all the steps, and I missed a step. And what happened was I stepped out and over and fell off of a ledge into, it was a thistle bush. There were all of these thorns and sticky branches, and they were poking me and scratching me. I have scars on my knees to this day. And I laid there, and it was a short drop, maybe 5 feet or so. And I laid there, and I'm looking up, and I can see my group behind me. They were smart enough to stop when they saw me go over this little ledge. And they're looking at me. And so I can feel the tears coming. I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm embarrassed, and I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to get out of this? I want to cry, I want to be mad, and so I sat there, and the tears are coming down, and I'm thinking, I need help. Somebody help me. So the instructors come from the back of the group, and they're standing on the ledge, and I'm looking up at them, and they're looking down at me, and one of the instructors says, so Melanie, how long are you going to allow yourself to stay in this situation before you get up and get us to the water? So there was zero excuse. There was no, oh, no worries, let's come down and administer first aid. Clearly nothing was broken except for my pride. But it was, how long do you allow yourself to stay in a situation that's painful, that's hurtful, that you find yourself a little bit stuck in? Because psychologically, your brain is telling you, I'm hurting, I'm needing first aid. How long are you going to stay in that place before you devise a way to get yourself out, to get yourself to safety? And the water represented the safety. And so at first I was so outdone that she was asking me this when I've got scrapes and cuts and bruises on my knees, and my body and my ego was clearly hurt. And then I thought about it for a minute, and I thought, if I were by myself, and I fell off of this little ledge into these thorns and these thistles, how long would I sit here kind of feeling bad for myself? And that was the shift. That was the mental shift for me. I thought I wouldn't. I would jump out of that situation. I would jump out of that thistle bush quickly and get myself to safety as quickly as possible. Of course, if I were physically able, right? So that's where everything shifted for me. The tears dried up. I started to strategize on how best can I roll myself out of this thistle bush, devise a better strategy for my team to get around to safety, because my job was to protect my team as well, and then get us to the river, remembering and utilizing and implementing the skills that we had learned all the way through our journey up until this point. And I like to tell that story. Oh, by the way, I did get out of the bush. I did get my team around and off of that ledge so that no one else fell into that thistle, and we got safely to the water. And it wasn't 15 or 20 minutes later. So it was that close. My mistake was hearing that water that close, I became careless. I didn't follow the rest of the steps that I had learned. I didn't follow the safety protocol that I had learned, and I rushed through, and that's when I fell off of that little ledge into that bush. And because of my haste, because of my rush to get there, it was my mistake that I was in that situation. And so I used that lesson and that story, and it really changed how I approached leadership. When I run into difficult situations in the workplace, difficult situations with staff, and I'm upset about maybe how a decision went down, or how a decision came about, or I had to face a really difficult challenge, I think to myself, how long am I going to allow myself to stay in this mindset, which is clearly crippling, because all that does is it keeps you in the thistle, right? All it does is it keeps you in the thorn patch. How long do you allow yourself to stay in that mindset and that state of upset and helplessness and fear and frustration and anxiety? How long do you allow yourself to stay in that place before you strategize a way for yourself to get out, strategize a way that your team is protected and getting the most pertinent, valuable information so that they don't also fall in, and then get the team around to safety? So as leaders, it's important for you to acknowledge when you've made a misstep, or when there's been a mistake that's caused you stress or upset or anxiety or concern or fear or anger, and then to begin to strategize. Ask yourself, how long will I allow myself to stay in this state of mind? Because no one has control over that but you, and it can be crippling. You can stay in that state for so long that it renders you unable to perform the functions of your role so that you can be successful, protect your team, and get them to a place of safety or a place of success. So I want you to think about this story, think about your own thorn bush and how you've allowed yourself to kind of stay in that place. Allow yourself to acknowledge it, be honest about how you're feeling or what emotions you're feeling, allow yourself to experience that, and then strategize and figure out a plan to get out of that thorn bush and around that thorn bush so that you can get yourself to safety. and you can accomplish that goal. So that is our story for this week. I hope you heard the message under that, and understanding that sometimes you gotta take the stuff, you gotta ingest the stuff that's not so pleasant, so that it nourishes your body, builds up your skill set, so that you can perform the more difficult task. And then when you come upon that challenging situation, don't allow yourself to stay stuck in that mindset and stuck in that place, because it will impede your ability to handle it and handle difficult tasks moving forward. Thanks so much. And if you enjoy this, please feel free to subscribe and share it with your team, share it with your colleagues, and I'll see you next time on Storytime.